This week on the show, we talk about Caulfield and how it's actually going and how it's going to be in 3 weeks' time for the PB Lawrence. Couple of races into the hen house. Also a Foxcatcher, which we identified on Thursday, got the job for us with those jockey changes positive. Few horses go into the doghouse. Also one race which people will be surprised about. We've got a horse for the futures, and Foxcatcher Intel go to the Olympics and we give a massive edge. Oh, the swimming's very interesting. We've got it all on Foxcatcher Intel. Let's open up Pandora's Fox. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Pandora's Fox. My name's Julian Valence, joined by Clint Hutchison. How's your week, Hutchie? Any of into the full-blown Olympics?
I'm liking
Where's the
it.
tracksuit?
How is the setup, by the way? You're looking very sporty. What country is this?
It's Greece, probably. I mean, they were the founder of the Olympics, so we're sort of getting behind them. And I really like that guy that I think abused the system, won a medal, gold, and then wasn't found, sort of faked an injury, faked an accident, and then was never found ever again. So we're sort of going with him. I think that's the theory.
Looking sharp. I mean, this is about as conservative as you get, but
Yeah.
I'm liking the look.
All right, let's get into Saturday, because again, like last week, Hutch, bit to dissect here just with the rain. We started theoretically on a good 4. I don't even know if we did. Times probably indicated we started on a soft 5. But here's the track intel. All right, so like last week, Hutch, there's a bit to get through here. Our 4 metres the entire circuit. Now, Rise is going to say that we started on a good 4, but we got a downgrade after race 1 to a soft 5. We got a downgrade to soft 6 after race 3. We got a downgrade to soft 7 after race 4. Just get on with it already, would you? And then we get a downgrade to heavy 8 after race 6.
Pick the bones out of that and make a chicken soup. I mean, what is it? I mean, it was third meeting in a row at Caulfield where the rain's impacted the meeting.
Yeah.
Didn't rain that much, but
No.
gee, the track has copped it. Inside completely off. A lot of the horses, you needed to be away from the inside, I think, generally speaking. Like you said, it got worse and worse as the day goes on, and probably doesn't bode that well going forward at this stage of the year.
Yeah, so that's the interesting point that I wanted to talk to you about. I thought it was pretty even, to be out. I mean, Iron Valid sits outside leader and wins the first race. And as we know, every time tracks deteriorate, they're going to edge off the fence, and they did do that. But you sort of could win from anywhere. It wasn't really the fact that, just because they were coming off the inside didn't mean that you couldn't sort of be on speed. So your point here, it's about doesn't bode well. So next meeting, August 17. So not too long ago, 3 weeks away, I think. That's the PB Lawrence. That's the Vane and the Quizette. So, and then 2 weeks after that, you got the Memsey. It just looks like it's a really tired track. And to be honest, it needs a lot of luck, I reckon, with some sunshine, as do I, to get back into some good habits. Because I've never seen Caulfield deteriorate so quickly, even if it was from a soft 5 to begin, to end up a heavy 8 with, as you said, not much rainfall.
And we had that meeting prior where we were getting some big margins.
Yes.
They were putting up margins, including recommendations,
Correct.
which we'll touch on later.
Yeah, good point.
His win prior, I mean, to win by 7, they just don't do that at Caulfield. So, yeah, look, let's hope. I think, they're in the lap of the gods with the weather.
Yeah.
They need the right weather for the next few weeks. Let's hope it can bounce back. Good betting track generally, but gee whiz, you've needed a lot in your favour, and it's been a lot of guesswork, I think, the last couple of meetings.
No, 100% agree with that. Let's get to the hen house. All right, Hutch, here are the races or some things, some factors, horses that we think we can follow with a bit of confidence that have gone really well. Kick us off with the first race. Now, we know that it's had first use of the track. But I just want to say it was a race that went inside or equal to standard time. Last 400, 200, pretty good. But I think everyone's going to be talking about the winner. It's now 3 from 3, I Am Velvet. Now, I backed the second horse, and the market seemed to be with it. And I think speaking to you earlier, you backed it as well. Speak of Dom, it was $2.70 into around $1.75, heavily backed. This horse drifted $2.70 out to $3.30, market against it. Does a lot of things wrong. But now 3 from 3, and it might end up being a nice racehorse.
Yeah, those racing manners are bizarre. You don't normally see a horse do that much wrong and still prevail. So I need to iron out some of those issues, but dominant performance. I'm trusting the race. I'm trusting the winner. I think that Philip Stokes is probably going to go towards, pick out the features during the spring. I won't give up on Dom. I don't think Hard Fence was great personally.
Good point.
And I think came under pressure, fought on, but you never felt comfortable in the run. The winner always seemed to have its measure, but I'd love to see it back on a more even surface. I'm giving a lot of horses a forgive from the weekend.
Yep, very good. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether they can iron that out. I know when you see a horse like that, you go, oh, once he goes straight, it's going to be a superstar. Sometimes they just can't get that out of the system. How good your trainings are, sometimes those horses just do that. So it's going to be interesting to see what it actually does in, say, 6 to 12 months, if it can actually get to the next peak by doing things right, or it just always is a little bit of a nutcase.
It was severe, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, if it goes straight, how far? I mean, a decent margin. But you can't do that as you step up against better horses.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to the next race, which I think we both love, and it got to race 8. So the second last race. Now, at this stage, we were definitely on a heavy 8. The winner's Showmanship, who sort of wound back the clock a little bit, Blinker's first time, Damien Lane went on. He goes 1 second inside standard time, but here's the kicker for me. Just about the best last 400, 200 metres of the day, taking into account that it was just about on the worst part of the track. This race has gone enormous, and poor old Jimmy the Bear, who's gone great and panelled the third horse by about 8 lengths, misses out.
And he's a great horse to get a line through because he's so consistent.
Yes.
He usually runs to a certain mark. So once again, I think we can trust that this race has gone very, very well, like you said. I think Showmanship. Listening to what the league team said post-race, wet tracks are going to be the key.
Okay.
Hopefully they're a little bit more conservative in terms of travel and pick out the right races. We know how good Showmanship was early days. So
absolutely.
Great to see a horse like that back, and that race can be trusted.
Yep, so that's a race we can follow. Obviously, race 1 we spoke about and race 8. Another thing that we spoke about that I think has to go into the hen house here, punters, is we spoke about it on Foxcatcher's, JJ and I, Hutchi, on Thursday when we did the show. It was significant jockey changes and how it actually impacts the market and actually also impacts horse performance. Now, there's 3 horses here that win at Caulfield, and I'm going to name them, and you'll just explain what can actually happen with these horses. Captain Electric, Damien Lane went in the saddle. Farrago, Blake Shin goes in the saddle, and Showmanship, which we've just spoken about, Damien Lane. I know probably the weekend punter doesn't really understand. They just think the horse does all the work and the jockeys just sit on. But there's a reason why jockeys there's a pecking order.
They get more out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it is. It's a very subjective thing to what you've got to do with your form in terms of bonusing certain horses with certain riders on. I did see the segment the other day with JJ. Couldn't agree more. It's just really hard to line up. What do I give this horse, a length, 2 lengths? Damien Lane, I love backing him all round, but in staying races, he balances his judge of tempo. What he gets out of these horses is elite. And same with Shin, he's terrific as well. Although I think when he made the mid-race move the other day, he probably should have kept going on facts. But overall, I mean, those top level riders, they just get a little bit more out of them in terms of what, like JJ said on your show last week, travel through the run. It's a lot of little pieces.
A lot of little pieces. And I think that's the key, that it adds up and it does actually move the market, which we saw with 2 of those horses in particular who started clear-cut favourite in the end. Let's now get to the doghouse. Okay, for all the good things that we can talk about, there's also got to be some things that we've got to be wary of going forward out of this meeting, I reckon, Hutch. And this one, people are probably going to put me on the street, tar and feather me, but I want to get your opinion on this. It's race 7. It's the feature, the Bletchingley Stakes, and recommendation. Look, the time here, only just inside standard time, and the last 400, 200 doesn't stack up very well at all. Compare it to Showmanship, even Piastri in the race earlier. I'm just concerned now where they go with this horse. So, it's done fantastic. Won its first race, first up by 7 or 8 lengths, then wins again at a very short price. So that's great. But then they've got to lift the bar. I think they're talking about Manicato Stakes. My opinion is, I think you've done well if you've been on recommendation. Now might be the time to drop off, because I haven't got this race going that well, Hutch, yourself.
I had my sort of doubts on the weekend. I mean, I couldn't get it as short as the market anyway, recommendation. Won well, beat the same sort of field, but didn't beat it by the margin it did a couple of weeks ago at Caulfield. Well-placed time was nothing special. Look, I don't know. I'd be more than happy to take it on. I love these hype horses during the spring. Particularly when a lot of punters see them SP as short as they do.
Yeah.
They just come out naturally shorter in the market than they
100%.
should going forward. And if there's a bit more depth to a race going forward, which by the sounds of it, there will be, look out, we'll be taking it on.
So I think that's just that race. I don't think it's gone that well. And recommendation, as I say, it's done a fantastic job this prep. But just be wary of it going forward. 2 horses also going to the doghouse from me. Hutch, I'll get your opinion on these. Matron Bullwinkle, who you can assess probably missed the boat, didn't have a lot of luck in that 2,400 metre race, but it's 6 run this prep, and I just reckon it's been up long enough. I don't know about it at 2,000 metres plus anyway. I'm happy to be around Matron Bullwinkle.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, and I think you can only give him so many chances, particularly when you speed like it did. It looked Matron Bullwinkle's kind of race there.
Yeah.
A little bit of a momentum stop at a key stage, and that's the other thing with that meeting on the weekend and that ground. If you lost a little bit of momentum at a key stage, it's hard to pick back up and go again.
Yep.
So, look, I'm with you. It's all price related. You couldn't take a short price about it, and it needs a similar race, but yeah, I can understand that.
Next one I'm going to talk about was backed off the map in its race. It's called Green Fly. Now, the reasons why you're going to go, well, why was it backed off the map? Well, there's a couple of factors. It's a wet tracker. Its best ever figures are on bottomless tracks. That's what it got. It was close to the minimum. It got C. Williams on. There was a lot of factors to understand why it got backed. I thought it was poor. And the other factor here, Hutch, why I don't want to be with it again is it's had a good prep. No doubting at all. I think it ran third to your boy maybe in the 1,600 metre final at Flemington. It's gone great. But this is now its 7th run prep. So do I want to back it next start at its 8th run prep, possibly on a drier track?
Seemed to get all the favours there on the weekend in terms of conditions, the way the track was playing. I mean, that's why Greenfly was back, like you said. So, gee, it was disappointing, I felt. I mean, a lot of good judges were giving it a great chance, and you could exactly understand why. I don't know where we go now with it, because is it going to get the same setup moving forward?
Yeah.
Who knows? But once again, back marker, needs a run on track, needs a wet track. No.
Too many Goldilocks situations for the price point that it's going to be at.
I think I'd rather be on Louis the Fly than Green Fly going forward.
He just keeps kicking Louis the Fly, by the way. You can't kill him.
It goes good.
All right, let's get to the hits and misses. All right, so Hutchie, this is where we talk about the horses that were backed throughout the day and whether we want to continue to be with them or we want to just drop off them a little bit and maybe give some reasoning of why these horses were backed. So we kick off with race 1. It was Dom. It was $2.90 into $1.75. You can see off that big number at Geelong. What do we want to do with it going forward?
Look, had Patton on side at Geelong, so you had to sort of downgrade a little bit for that, but I think probably had a few things against it on the weekend. Not writing it off. I'm sticking with Dom.
Yep, give him another chance. Race 2, Band of Brothers, $12 into $4.20. Again, it was a pretty hot race. Big number last start. Jury's out on this whole race. I think we built up that this race 2 would be a great race. Hasn't rated that well. Just going to be interested to see what the market does with it, and Band of Brothers probably fits into that bill. Next one's a really interesting one. We spoke about, obviously, significant jockey changes. Race 3, Captain Electric, $3.60 into $2.80. And through the totes right at the death, we know one of the bigger players plays in the market space. It was like $2.50, $2.60. But it was again on the quick back up D-lane. You can see why they backed it. Don't know about it now back to a dry track.
Yeah, perhaps you could be right. I mean, the only thing is it's like a merry-go-round. It's whose turn is it this week? I mean, the same sort of horses over those distance races and might strike a similar field. Yeah,
race 4 was Farrago. Again, big jockey change. Shin went in. It was well suited in the set weight penalty races of this, the Vobis Gold race. $4.20 into $3.10. I reckon this is one of those horses that found the right race, found the right jockey. What do you think if we saw Farrago again in 2 weeks' time?
Well, he was the green fly that won. It was a perfect setup for him. He looked a great chance, well backed. Yeah, not unless he gets similar circumstances in terms of weather and track.
Race 5, there was 2 horses really well backed here. I'm going to start with Sunset Dreaming, $9 into $4.20. Now, this horse was first up off 196 days. Most horses that were backed from race sort of 3 onwards were wet trackers, fit horses. This was the outlier. Going to be really interesting. He ran pretty well. It might be one to just keep an eye on, I think.
Hit the line really well. It was a terrific performance. Market knew and market nearly got it right.
Yeah, correct. Same race, Herbert Park, $15 into $5.50. Want to know the reason why, punters? Well, it swims.
Yeah.
It was just an absolute mudlark. So, again, you probably want to be following it out if you get another wet track, but back to dry. I don't think the market's going to be so with it. Yeah, absolutely. Race 6, market bang on again, $13 into $5.50. The winner came out of a race, ran third behind Marble 9, which I think is a pretty good race. I speak of Piastri.
Yeah, I like Piastri, and that 3 wide line was no issue whatsoever. Like the right this horse has gone good on my ratings
Yeah.
to start prior. I was happy to sort of back up, and the market came late.
Yep.
I'll be sticking with it. I trust that form.
Yep, absolutely. And the race has gone pretty good too. Just about nearly made our hen house, that race 5. So we like that race. And then the last horse we've got here, we've spoken about it in depth. It's already in the doghouse, Green Fly. $5.50 into $3.30. As we said, wet tracker, deep into a prep, hard fit, C. Williams. But I think going forward, punters, we can go around Green Fly. Now let's get to In the Fox's Den. All right, Black Bookers here, Hutch, In the Fox's Den. What do you got for me? You can kick off.
I like Kundalini. I thought a maiden still, believe it or not, but it's had a couple of preparations leading into the weekend. Just didn't have the best run. There wasn't much Damien Lane could do. It was locked away on the inside. Momentum wasn't great. Sessionally was fantastic late. And I don't know if the actual track condition was ideal either. I think back on a more even service. Look, as a 3-year-old, I think now the options are sort of limited. They'll probably go to a maiden now because it's about to turn 4. We'll just knock that over plus more. So could be a horse not only to follow next start, maybe one to follow, in a series of runs going forward.
Yep, and you got another one sort of off Broadway for me?
Another one off Broadway. Geelong last Friday. Really impressive performance. Tempo was pretty strong on the race. Lloyd the Leopard. They scratched from a couple of other potential meetings, and once again it's the same case in point. 3-year-old about to turn 4, so the options are limited in terms of where they go now. They'll go to benchmark races. Time was a lot better than the benchmark race of the day, so the performance was strong. Lloyd the Leopard, definitely one to follow, and I think it was a mid-distance range, about a 1,500 on the weekend.
Yeah, good.
Can go up to 2,000.
Perfect. All right, Lloyd the Leopard there and Kundalini for Hutch. I've got a few here. I'm going to start with Sunset Dreaming. Thought it was good first up. I like the fact that they backed it. I don't really know why they backed it, considering it was a wet track, so that's a positive. And then the 3 off Broadway for me, Hell of a Gent. We'll find it in a maiden somewhere. It got beaten at Mildura, of all places. I think he can now just win it, knock off a maiden. I reckon we might get a price about it. New York Luster, really good win at Seymour in a maiden. Be With It. And Dream Reality, it won a maiden first up at Bendigo. I think that's another horse you can follow as well. Look, there's this big negative thing about horses coming out of maidens and then going to 64 grade and not being able to perform. I think those horses that rate really well, which we identified, you actually get a good price about it because there is that narrative around that they don't match up. They actually match up pretty well.
Yeah, they do match up well.
Yeah, no issue there.
You got to pick the right ones. That's
the thing. And because there's so many horses that win maidens, then they run in 64 and you go, they have a low win strike rate of winning. But every horse has a low strike rate of winning 2 in a row. So I think just pick the eyes out of those maidens and you're going to win plenty of money going into 64 grade. Next, Crystal Balling, the Foxcatchers. Okay, we've got the crystal ball out here. Now, during the week, Hutch, Peter Moody came out, and I think there's always an angle with the Moya and the Manikato Stakes. I think they're very weak races usually.
Yes.
Because a lot of the good horses want to go to the Everest, and they usually run in the shorts and those lead-ups in Sydney. Peter Moody came out and said he's definitely going to probably run I Wish I Win in the Manikato. And I think this is where possibly we can have a bet with the pre-nom thing you can get at PointsBet, that if the horse doesn't nominate, you'll get your cash back, and it's in the Moya Stakes. Now, 1,000 metres, you probably think, well, not really his go, but he did run second in the Lightning Stakes.
No problem.
The Moya Stakes, I think, is going to be somewhat soft compared to something else, and you're getting $6 about him, I Wish I Win, which is best price with PointsBet. I think we have a play, I Wish I Win, in the Moya Stakes with PointsBet at that $6. As I say, you got the pre-nom sort of guarantee. Because the nominations aren't until the Monday, Moody's not going to nominate him and then not run. So just have something on I Wish I Win in the Moya Stakes at $6. As I said, PointsBet our best price at $6. And while I've got you, as we're talking about the futures, you've got this new horse, well, I shouldn't say new horse, you've got this horse that just continues to win.
Old and grey like me.
Continues to win. And then for the punters out there, do you know where you might want to go, or is it a little bit like softly with it?
No, we just sort of, the thing
Munamek I'm talking about, by the way.
With the rating that he's on now, it's sort of stakes races, that's where he has to go. We're going to kick off in the PB Lawrence and then, sort of take the preparation as it comes. I mean, he's a horse that can race every couple of weeks.
Yep.
He takes his racing extremely well. His season, he's hard fit. We're hoping we can catch them on the hop early in the prep, but he'll be racing through the spring, and we might even stretch him out to a little bit further. Is it a Heatherly? Is it an Underwood? Through the preparation.
Well, in terms of races that you think's usually soft, that Underwood Stakes, which is that 1800 metre race, they usually go Turnbull.
Yeah.
And you usually get a chance there with that 8 hours. Sometimes you've got a few to 5 or 6.
Small field, and also, I would love to be taking on a few stayers that,
Yeah.
aren't going to put a lot of
Yeah.
pressure on, and he might be really well suited. So, yeah, look, he's flying. The horse is going to jump out next week, and he's ready to go.
All right, very good. Bit there to play out, but maybe the Underwood could be the little sneaky play, Munamek, in the futures, hoping everything goes well there. All right, let's now get to think outside the box, which is actually think outside the fox. All right, Hutch. Well, we're in Olympic time. So
I can see that.
Foxcatcher Intel doesn't just do horse racing. We delve deep into the Olympic sphere.
This will do, mate.
Yeah, well, this is interesting. So we've got some very good swimmers, the Australians. Very good swimmers.
Okay.
And I think plenty who are going into this swimming meet they're going to break world records. They're just going to bust the world records. Well, Foxcatcher Intel, just done a bit of digging.
Yes.
The pool's soft. The pool's slow.
Soft?
The pool's slow.
I noticed that.
It's a slow 7, possibly a heavy 8. So when you've got the markets thinking these good swimmers who are going to break 200 metres and 100 metres world records as well, which you can bet on, no. Take the no.
Can I ask you a question?
Go on.
What makes the water slower?
That's a great question, and one that I can't give away because we want to keep the edge at Foxcatcher Intel here, Hutch.
Okay.
Because in 2028, it's going to happen again, and 2032 for Brisbane, that's when we're going to launch. We're going to courtside.
Fast water.
Yeah. Well, I think Brisbane will want world records broken.
Yes.
Now, if we can live till 2032, I reckon that'll be the time to strike. But what I'm saying now is the pool in Paris is soft. I don't think there'll be any world records broken in the swimming.
Wow, that's a big call.
It's a massive
call.
call.
Is it called Caulfield?
Correct, yes, exactly. It's gone bad. Like Caulfield. So that's the Foxcatcher Intel on the Olympics, that there won't be any world records broken, and you can just about guarantee that tonight Titmus will break the world record if she wins the 200 metres beating Molly O'Callaghan by a nose.
I'll be straight on the phone. Just a gentle reminder there, Jules, you're spot on.
All right, that's the end of the show. Thanks, Hutchie. I'll see you next week.
Mate.
Get involved in the swimming, punters.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.